Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. On this Monday, uh, today's a holiday, but this is a special holiday show, and I'm going to get right into it. Ruin your life. What can ruin your life? And I mean, so many things out there, but there's something new right now. Now imagine a world where if you eat dairy products, or if you eat meat, if you eat dairy products or meat, that about a few hours later you start to get really sick. You start to get intestinal problems, diarrhea, upset stomach. Especially meat triggers it. So you go out and you have a hamburger. Nice big meat patty. You get a quarter pounder. 8 hours later, your stomach is gurgling. You're upset to your stomach. And you can't actually. And this lasts the rest of your life. That's what I mean by ruin your life. And if you eat too much meat in one meal, you could go into anaphylactic shock. You could go into cardiac arrest and die if you eat too much meat. Imagine having a disease like that. And dairy products can trigger it too. And this disease is spreading very rapidly, and I'll tell you where it's spreading. It's spreading all throughout the United States, in the East Coast specifically. Southeast is where it's at its worst. And I'm going to tell you what the vectors is. I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's turn to the article here. Doctors are often missing the symptoms of this. They've never seen anything like it before. And it's spreading really fast. And what's it caused by? Ticks. That's what it's caused by. And the doctors have never even heard of it. And it's got such wide... I mean, they could tell you, hey, you just got the intestinal flu. They won't know what's wrong with you because it mimics so many other symptoms. And this is why so many people have it now, and it's going undiagnosed. But they know it's spreading by the people that they are catching, that they're diagnosing it on, which is spreading like wildfire. The number's growing of people who are, that they verified, are coming down with this. And how many people are unverified? How many people are going around and they just have a stomach upset, and get a lot of gas, and they go diarrhea and stuff like that, and they just don't know they have it. It's a new tick-borne illness. We'll take a look a little bit. A potentially life-threatening allergy to red meat may impact almost 500,000 Americans. Now, that's 500,000 people, mostly in the southeastern United States. This is how many they've seen that got this. How many don't know? And, ticks are in the woods everywhere. Not just in the woods, they're in your lawn. They're in their grass. They're everywhere. And they're sneaky. Some of them are so tiny they're no bigger than a grain of sand. And you don't even know you have them on. You have one on you. It might fall off before you even notice it's there. Potential life-threatening allergy to red meat develops. What are the symptoms? Number 1 on the list, nausea. Number 2, stomach cramps. Number 3, diarrhea. And often people will become itchy and develop hives and shortness of breath, and they can develop anaphylaxis in extreme cases. In other words, I was reading about this one guy, and he decided to go on the carnivore diet. So him and his wife cooked up a big meal, and it was their first day on the carnivore diet, and they enjoyed the meal. She went out to get something, and she come back, and he was stooped over. He was in a mess. They barely saved him. And they didn't know what was wrong with him. It's very dangerous, this is. So all of us, now, if we want to avoid this disease, we need to avoid ticks at all costs. So how do you avoid this? How do you avoid ticks? Well, it's going to take a lot of diligence. If you go anywhere where there's high grass, if you go anywhere around the woods, if you even step out of your car and you wanted to go down, walk around the grass a little bit and get back into your car, you might have a tick on you. They're everywhere. They even crawl around. They'll even crawl inside some buildings and stuff sometimes, but not so much. Generally, they're outside. You get them. You have to, if you're outside and you're in the grass, or your kids are outside in the grass, your pets can bring them in. This is a terrible method in which so you might want to think, if your pets run around a lot out in the yard and they bring the ticks into the house, you might want to think of ways to try to stop that from happening. This is going to be a very bad problem, but once you catch this thing, that's it. I go so far as to say your life is ruined, because what are you if you can't eat any dairy products or any meat products? It'd be very difficult. Your life would be very difficult, and it cuts out a huge swath of the food supply you can eat. Terrible affliction. So I wanted to let you guys know about that. Now we're going to move on to more news. The U.S. is launching a third round of airstrikes on eastern Syria, but the deterrence is failing. What does that mean, the deterrence is failing? It means they were doing this for a deterrence, but the war is starting to look more like war. And what I heard this morning is, I heard that some U.S. servicemen have lost their lives. I'm not sure if it's true yet or not. It's gonna have to be verified. Of course, it takes probably 24 to 48 hours to be officially verified. So I'll know. But what I heard was, and I heard it from Canadian Prepper. I was watching his channel this morning, and generally it takes time for it to be verified. But you might hear it in the news tomorrow or the next day. We'll wait and see on that one. Third round of airstrikes in eastern Syria. Now, we got problems because there's a huge volcano in Iceland and the people in Iceland are bracing for this volcanic eruption. Copenhagen, some 900 earthquakes hit southern Iceland on Monday, authorities said, adding tens of thousands of tremors rattled the region in recent weeks. 4,000 people are evacuated over the weekend as authorities fear that molten rock will rise to the surface of the earth and potentially hit the coastal town and a geothermal power station. It says, we have this tremendous uncertainty now that there will be an eruption, and if so, what sort of damage will be occurring? This came from the Icelandic Meteorological Office. Now there's a big superpower summit happening right now. Biden and Xi seek to stabilize relations between the United States and China. It shows a meeting there. Says the most consequential part of the Asia-Pacific Cooperation APEC Summit in San Francisco this week may well be a meeting on the sidelines between United States President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Their first meeting in a year. They are expected to make fresh efforts to stabilize the eroding relationship that was derailed at the start of 2023 when a Chinese spy balloon drifted across the North American airspace. So they're hoping to mend this rift that was created by the spy balloon. Now, over in Gaza right now, the largest hospitals in Gaza are calling for immediate evacuation of newborns. I've heard that they don't have water, they don't have electricity, they don't have power, I guess they can't even run their generators. This is a dire situation, and an awful lot of children, I guess, are involved in this. There was an awful high percentage of children that lived in the Gaza Strip, in that area. Now, taking a look now at the silver price, now we're moving to the financial markets. Oh, there's one more story I wanted to cover for you guys here. I almost forgot about it before we move into the financials. Moody's is sending a warning to America. Your last AAA credit rating is at risk. So other agencies have already moved and lowered the U.S. credit rating. I'm surprised it's not like DDD or CCC rather than AAA. Do you know how indebted America is? And they're only going to get deeper indebted at this point. This is not digging a grave. This is digging a hole to China, for crying out loud. We're past that. Oh, everything's just going crazy, and I was watching this movie last night, and I was absolutely astounded by it. It was about a scenario. It was like a 1985 movie from a long time ago, like over 40 years ago. And it was a scenario in which the movie played out World War III, how it would happen or whatever. And it was centered in the Persian Gulf region. And the movie showed step by step the lead into World War III. And the movie concluded with the all-out nuclear war. Right? And what was really astounding about this movie was that everything in the movie was just like what's happening right now. It was almost like a script that was written in the past about what's happening right now. And it was scary. It was scary indeed. What can I say? And the movie finally concluded, the Russians were moving their submarines into the region around and America was moving submarines and aircraft carriers in and stuff. And it all started with Iran was in it, and Iran, the whole thing. Israel was in it, the whole thing, just like now. It's almost like, but I had to watching the movie. I had to say this was way back. This movie was done when? Way back in 1980 something. It was so prophetic. But in the finale of the movie, they launched an all-out nuclear attack. It started with a small nuclear attack. They started to launch nukes at how the movie, like toward the end of the movie, they started small tactical nukes were used in the Persian Gulf region, specifically on the U.S. fleet in the movie. And then that escalated rapidly into all-out nuclear war. Okay, so anyway, it was just a movie, but I guess a case where art could imitate life. Let's hope it doesn't. 22.14 for silver. It's down 13 cents on the day, but it is climbing right now. Now we're going to take a look at gold. Gold is 1939. It's climbing right now. It's up 90 cents. Taking a look at cryptocurrency. Bitcoin has fell back just a little bit. It's not 37,000 and change like it was. Now it's 36 and change. So it's dropped about $1,000. Ethereum is at 21.12 right now, and it looks like Ethereum's going up right now. XRP is at 65.1 cents. Taking a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we have 34,287. It's up 4.5 points, which is practically nothing. The crude oil today is up 75 cents at 77.92. Taking a look at bonds and rates today, we're looking at the long end of the yield curve. We're looking at rising yields. The 10-year is at 4.66. I heard they had an abysmal treasury auction. It's going to come a time when nobody's going to buy this stuff. Credit rating is going to go down, and they're going to want more. To hold sovereign debt with a lower credit rating score, you're going to want a higher interest rate. And, they can't afford higher interest rate. What will the Fed do? Yield curve control could be, and then they'll have to subsidize the whole thing themselves. The United States will have to subsidize its entire operation itself. And that, can we say hyperinflation? The dollar ain't going to be worth anything in the end. But that's what happens. Typical life span of a fiat currency is 40 years. The dollar's a hell of a lot older than that. I mean, it was longer than 40 years ago, back in 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard and made the United States dollar a true fiat currency. And so it's reaching the end of its life cycle. And exactly the same thing's happening now as happened to Rome when they started to debase their currency in Rome. It wasn't long before the Roman Empire fell. So we're seeing the 30-year, it's at 4.76. It's up 3.5 basis points, and the 10-year is up 2.8 basis points. Taking a look at the dollar index today, and we're at 105.73 today, and we're going along sideways, basically. It is slightly down, but mostly sideways. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and remember, if you do go into the woods or deep grass or something like that, find a place to go where you can take all your clothes off, stand in front of a mirror, and really look yourself over really good, because you don't want your life to be ruined, because there's nothing like a juicy steak, and you will never be able to eat one again. This is sad. But you could prevent this from ruining your life by following this advice. And this is what I'm going to be very, very careful. I got one tick on me last summer, or I should say this summer. And I'm careful. But like I say, they're sneaky. Okay, guys. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.